Hello everyone, tell me something. Have you ever been in a moment where a woman looked at you, and for a split second, the world went completely still? It wasn't about your suit, your haircut, or the car you drove. It wasn't even about the words you had just said. It was something else. Something electric. Her eyes lingered because you had tapped into a current that runs far deeper than appearance or status. And the truth is, most men spend their entire lives never learning how to access it. We've been told attraction is about chasing, about saying the right lines, playing the right games. But here's the secret: women don't fall for the lines, they fall for the man behind them. And sometimes all it takes is 3 words, not cheesy pickup lines, not poetic declarations, but 3 words that, when said from the right place, open a door in her mind and heart you didn't even know existed. These words are not magic in themselves, they are a reflection of who you are when you speak them. And once you understand how to embody the energy behind them, you won't have to chase anymore. Women will feel pulled toward you without you lifting a finger. And here's the thing, when I tell men about these 3 words, they often expect me to give them a silver bullet, something they can copy and paste into any conversation like a magic password. But attraction isn't a password, it's an energy exchange. The words work because of the man you become before you say them. They are the tip of the iceberg, but the iceberg is you. I want you to imagine something. You're sitting across from a woman at a quiet corner table in a cafe. There's music playing softly in the background, the smell of coffee curling through the air. You're listening to her talk, not just hearing her words, but listening to the pauses, the rhythm, the little changes in her voice when she mentions something that matters to her. She's leaning in without realizing it. And when she laughs, it's not the polite kind, it's the kind that spills out of her before she can stop it. In this moment, you haven't touched her hand. You haven't told her she's beautiful, but she's already feeling something. Why? Because you're not rushing to impress. You're not filling the silence with nervous chatter. You're present. And presence is the soil in which those 3 words can bloom. Now, before we go deeper, I want you to let go of a belief that's probably been holding you back. The belief that attraction is built through performance, through trying to be interesting enough or alpha enough. Women don't fall for performances. They fall for moments where they feel seen. The right words, when spoken from the wrong place, feel hollow. But when spoken from this place of stillness and certainty, they carry weight. One of the biggest mistakes men make is assuming that attraction is about proving themselves. But the truth is, women are not looking for a man who is desperate to prove his worth. They're looking for a man who simply knows it. And knowing your worth doesn't mean arrogance. It's not about puffing up your chest or dominating the room. It's about quietly owning your space without needing approval to do so. So what does this have to do with the 3 words? Everything. Because those words are meaningless without the emotional posture behind them. Think of it like music. You can play the same notes as a master pianist, but without the soul behind them, it's just noise. Let me give you a story. A friend of mine, let's call him Daniel, wasn't what most people would consider classically attractive. Average height, slightly thinning hair, soft-spoken. But women were drawn to him, not just curious, magnetized. And the reason? He had this way of speaking to a woman as if there was no one else in the world at that moment. When he said something, you felt it wasn't recycled. It wasn't a line, he meant it. And those 3 words, they landed with her like an unexpected kiss on the back of her neck. Not because they were clever, but because they were real. See, the 3 words aren't about her. They're about the space between you and her, the energy you create in that space. And that's where most men miss it. They think if they just say them loud enough, often enough, or confidently enough, the magic will happen. But magic doesn't live in volume or repetition. It lives in resonance. And resonance begins with slowing down, with letting her curiosity build instead of smothering it under constant attention. It's about being willing to let moments breathe, to let her feel the contrast between your silence and your words. Because when a man is comfortable in silence, every word he chooses to speak carries 10 times more gravity. When you begin from this place, the first of the 3 words, yes, I'm giving them to you one at a time, hits differently. It's a word that says, I'm here, I'm attentive, and I'm not going anywhere. It's not romantic in the way a poem is romantic, but it's intimate in the way a glance across a crowded room can be intimate. It's the word, tell me. I know, at first, it doesn't sound like much, but when you say, tell me, and you mean it, when you say it with eyes that stay on hers, with a voice that has no rush in it, you invite her to open herself in a way most men never do. You tell her she's worth hearing, and for many women, that's more seductive than any compliment. Tell me isn't about the question that follows, it's about the permission it gives. It says, you can take up space here, you can be yourself here. And once a woman feels that, she begins to feel safe. And safety is the seed from which desire grows. We'll go deeper into the second word soon. But for now, I want you to notice how different it feels when you slow down, when you let go of the urge to impress, and instead focus on drawing out rather than pushing in. That shift alone can make a woman see you in an entirely new light before you've even touched her hand. You see, once you've said, tell me, and meant it, something subtle happens in her body. She leans in, not because you've asked her to, but because she feels the space you've created. She starts to reveal little pieces of herself, her frustrations at work, the silly childhood memory she hasn't thought about in years, the secret dream she's afraid to say out loud. And this is where most men, without even realizing it, make the fatal mistake. They rush in to fix, to advise, to showcase their cleverness. But here's the truth: she's not sharing so you can solve her. She's sharing so you can see her. And when a woman feels seen, her attraction deepens in ways she can't even explain to herself. It's in this space that the second word comes alive. A word that tells her she's not just being listened to, she's being felt. That word is, I understand. Now I know, 3 words, technically 2 here, but it's the essence that matters. I understand is not about agreeing with her or pretending to share her experiences. It's about communicating, I'm with you in this moment. It's empathy without judgment. When you say it softly, without rushing to follow it up with a lecture or a solution, she feels her guard lower. Imagine she's telling you about a fight she had with her sister. You're tempted to say, well, maybe she's just stressed, you should. No, that's not the moment for advice. Instead, you look at her, you nod slowly, and you let the words slip out, steady, grounded. I understand. And then you stop. You let the silence work for you. That pause is golden, because in that pause, she feels the weight of your presence. She senses you're not just reacting, you're absorbing. And that, for many women, is intoxicating. Most men are so busy trying to respond that they miss the opportunity to let their response land. When you tell a woman, I understand, and you say it from a place of genuine empathy, you're speaking to a part of her that craves recognition. She's not thinking, wow, what a clever man. She's feeling, finally, someone gets me. And here's the hidden layer. I understand is not only about her, it's about you demonstrating a rare kind of self-possession. Because a man who can sit in the presence of someone's vulnerability without rushing to fix it is a man who is grounded, who trusts himself enough to just be there. Think about it. How often do you encounter someone who listens without trying to control the narrative? It's rare, and in romance, it's almost extinct, which is why when you offer it, it feels extraordinary. Now, let me give you a different picture. You're at a dimly lit bar, maybe on a second date. She's sipping her drink, telling you about how she feels disconnected from her job lately. Instead of launching into a TED talk on career advice, you tilt your head slightly, make eye contact, and say, I understand. You don't say it in a rushed, yeah, I get it way. You let it draw out, like you're tasting the words before you give them. You mean them. And in that space, she feels her story expanding, her trust deepening. She starts telling you more, not because she has to, but because she wants to. And this is where the magic starts to take root, because attraction at its deepest level is not about excitement. It's about safety meeting mystery. Safety, so she can open up. Mystery, so she keeps leaning in, wondering what else you'll reveal about yourself. The first word, tell me, invites her in. The second, I understand, holds her there. But I need you to understand something important. The second word without the first is weak. If you haven't invited her in genuinely, I understand will sound like a polite courtesy instead of an intimate connection. The power comes from the sequence, from the emotional layering you're creating. And right here is where we start to prepare for the third word, the one that shifts the entire dynamic from connection to desire, the one that doesn't just make her feel safe, but makes her feel wanted, not in a needy, grabbing way, but in a way that says, I see you, I understand you, and I choose you. That's where the real magnetism begins. Up until now, you've been creating a space she doesn't want to leave. You've invited her in with, tell me. You've held her there with, I understand. But here's the thing, safety alone doesn't ignite desire. It lays the foundation, yes, but desire is sparked when safety meets intent. And intent is where so many men falter. They either hide it completely, fearing it will seem too forward, or they throw it out recklessly, without the emotional groundwork to make it feel welcome. But when you've taken the time to let her unfold in front of you, when you've shown her that her words, her emotions, her experiences actually land somewhere inside you, that is when you can shift the current. The third word, the one that changes everything, is you. Now, I know what you might be thinking. That's it. Just you. But the truth is, it's not the word, it's the moment. It's the way you say it when you say it, and how much unspoken meaning you allow to live inside it. Picture this. She's just told you something raw, something that matters. Maybe a dream she's had since she was a child, or a story about the time she almost gave up on herself. She's looking at you now, not quite sure how you'll respond, and you lean in just enough that your voice doesn't have to be loud. You hold her gaze, not with intensity, but with steadiness, and you say softly, you. That's it. No filler, no rush to add more. The weight of that word is in the pause that follows. Because in that pause, what she hears is, you're the one I see. You're the one I'm here for. You're the one who matters right now. And that's the moment desire breathes into the room. You see, desire isn't always lit by grand gestures or explicit compliments. Sometimes it's lit by the unmistakable feeling of being chosen completely in this moment without conditions. When you say you, in that way, it's not a line, it's a recognition. It's telling her, of all the stories, of all the people, it's you who has my attention. The first two words prepared her to hear it. Without them, you would sound like a fragment. But now, it's the exhale after the inhale. It's the natural destination of the journey you've been guiding her through. Here's where most men miss the mark. They over-explain. They rush to attach more words, afraid the silence will make them look awkward. But that silence, that's where the heat builds. The human mind can't resist filling a silence. And in that space, she's filling it with possibility, with meaning, with the awareness of your attention. Think of it this way. You've been leading her into a deeper part of the conversation, not by force, but by gravity. Each of the first two words has pulled her closer. Tell me, gave her permission. I understand, gave her grounding. You gives her focus. Suddenly, it's no longer about abstract conversation. It's about the connection between the two of you right now. And here's the beauty. This isn't something you only use in romantic settings. The same energy works across contexts, because what you're doing is engaging the deepest human need to be seen, to be understood, and to be chosen. Now, let's talk about the psychology for a moment. When you use you, in this way, you trigger what I call the personalization effect. In a group, it pulls someone out of the crowd and makes them feel singular. In a one-on-one moment, it shrinks the rest of the world to the space between your eyes and hers. That intensity of focus is rare, and the rare is always attractive. But, and this is important, you cannot fake this. The reason it works is because it's anchored in authenticity. If you try to use you as a trick without the genuine energy of presence, it will feel hollow. She'll hear the hollowness before she even processes the words. Let me tell you a story. A man I once coached, let's call him Marcos, was notorious for getting stuck in the friend zone. He was kind, he listened well, he was safe. But that safety never turned into anything more. When I asked him to describe his conversations with women, I realized he never shifted gears. He would listen for hours nodding, empathizing, but never signaling that he desired her specifically. So I had him practice the you moment. We worked on letting the conversation breathe, on letting himself sit in the vulnerability of being direct without being aggressive. The next time he was on a date, she was telling him about her love for photography, her frustration at not pursuing it more seriously. He listened, said, "Tell me more." Then, "I understand." And when she paused, he just looked at her and said, "Yo." She froze for half a second. Then she smiled, a slow, knowing smile. That was the night they kissed for the first time. Here's why you isn't a request, it's a declaration. It doesn't ask for anything, it gives something. It gives clarity, it gives certainty. It says, I'm not here for a woman, I'm here for you. And that, in a world of men afraid to show intent, is disarmingly powerful. Of course, this isn't about overusing it. If you sprinkle you into every other sentence, it loses its magic. This is about recognizing the right moment, the moment when she's open, when the emotional connection is humming beneath the surface, when silence is your ally. It's also about your body language. When you say you, your eyes stay steady. Your tone drops just slightly, not in volume, but in depth. Your body is relaxed, unhurried. No leaning forward too aggressively, no nervous fidgeting. Stillness is magnetic. Stillness makes her lean in. And here's a final layer. When you say you, and she smiles, or her breath catches, don't rush to fill that moment. Let it sit. Let her feel it. Because in that moment, the attraction isn't just in the word. It's in the way you're willing to hold the tension of the space between you. This is how the three words work together. Tell me opens the door. I understand builds the foundation. You turns the lights down low and closes the distance, not physically, but emotionally. Most men are looking for something flashy to impress a woman. But the truth is, the most powerful attraction is built in the quiet moments. The moments where words are few, but meaning is endless. And now that you have the final piece, we can move into what I think is the most overlooked part of this entire dynamic, how to sustain it. Because attraction isn't just about the spark, it's about keeping the flame alive without smothering it. Here's the thing most men don't realize: the moment you create that spark with a woman, you're standing at a crossroads. You can either nurture it so it deepens, or you can let it flicker out because you become too predictable, too available, or too heavy-handed with your attention. The three words, tell me I understand, you, are not meant to be used once and forgotten. They're not an opening move, they're a rhythm. And rhythm isn't about repetition, it's about variation. It's about knowing when to speak, when to listen, when to lean in, and when to lean back. You see, attraction isn't just created by connection, it's sustained by polarity. Think of it like a dance. In a dance, there's closeness, then space, a step forward, a step back. The beauty of the movement isn't in constant contact, it's in the moments where you feel the other person coming toward you again. This is where most men stumble. They feel the heat rise between them and a woman, and instead of letting her come forward, they smother the flame, they overtext, They overcall. They make themselves so constantly present that she doesn't get the chance to miss them. And what happens when someone never gets to miss you? The tension dies. So, how do you sustain attraction with the 3 words without making them stale? The first key is timing. If every time you see her, you rush into tell me mode, it will start to feel like an interview. If every conversation has I understand wedged in every 5 minutes, it will feel like a script. And if you become something you toss out casually, it loses all the weight it once had. Instead, let them be rare and intentional. Let her notice the absence of those moments so she leans into you again, wondering when they'll return. When you hold back just enough, your words gain gravity. The second key is authenticity in the moment. If you're distracted, if your mind is elsewhere, don't force tell me. Because the beauty of those words is in the presence behind them. She can feel when you're genuinely curious versus when you're just filling time. If you're tired, if you've had a long day, be honest about it. That honesty too sustains attraction. It makes you real, human, unpredictable in the best way. Let me tell you a story about a man named Julian. He'd mastered the art of sparking attraction. Women loved being around him because he was present, grounded, and knew when to let silence speak. But what made him unforgettable was how he paced the connection. One night over dinner, a woman he'd been seeing asked him something about his childhood. Instead of diving right into, tell me about hers, he paused, took a slow sip of wine and said, not tonight. I want to hear your answer more than mine. It was a small moment, but it kept her leaning toward him because she could never quite predict when he would invite her in deeper. The third key to sustaining attraction is layering other forms of connection around the 3 words. These words are powerful, but they live inside a larger ecosystem. Your body language, your eye contact, your willingness to be playful. For example, you might start with tell me over coffee, where the energy is soft and open. Later on a walk, you might skip the words entirely and let your shoulder brush hers as you both laugh at something small. And maybe that night when you part ways, you send her a voice note, not a text that ends with not an explanation, not a paragraph. Just you. In your tone, she hears all the unspoken desire. Another layer is contrast. If you're always calm, always composed, she will feel safe, yes. But without moments of unpredictability, safety becomes monotony. So every now and then break the pattern. Surprise her with a burst of playfulness, a teasing remark, a sudden change of topic. Attraction feeds on the unexpected. Now, I want to talk about something that might surprise you. One of the most powerful ways to keep attraction alive is through absence. In our culture of constant digital connection, not replying instantly can feel like a radical act. But think about it. If she has time to wonder what you're doing, time to replay the last conversation, time to miss the sound of your voice, she's investing emotional energy in you. That energy is what keeps the flame alive. Absence doesn't mean ignoring her. It means you have your own life, your own rhythm, your own gravity that she gets to orbit. And when you return, when she hears, tell me, again after a few days, it feels like water to someone who's been thirsty. Here's another overlooked truth. Sustaining attraction is not about always being in pursuit. It's about creating a space she wants to step into again and again. When you've used, tell me, to open her up, I understand, to ground her, and you, to ignite her, you don't need to constantly push. You simply need to protect the quality of that space. So, what does that look like in practice? It looks like being mindful of your own state before you see her. If you're anxious, distracted, or scattered, you won't be able to give those words their true weight. It looks like letting your conversations breathe, resisting the urge to fill every pause. It looks like letting your life outside of her be rich and full, so that when you do come together, she feels the depth of what you bring. The truth is, these 3 words are not just about attracting women. They're about how you show up in every relationship. When you can invite someone in, hold them with empathy, and choose them without hesitation, you become magnetic, not because of a trick, but because of who you are when you're fully present. And here's something else. When you sustain attraction in this way, you're also filtering. You're drawing in women who respond to presence, to depth, to authenticity, and you're naturally turning away those who only respond to flash and surface level charm. This isn't just about getting all the women you want. It's about attracting the right women for the kind of connection you want to live in. One last thought before we move forward. The most unforgettable men are not the ones who say the most. They're the ones whose words linger. Every time you say, tell me, every time you say, I understand, every time you say, you're leaving an echo, and it's in that echo that she thinks of you when you're not there. That's how attraction moves from a spark to a steady flame. The truth is, these 3 words are not just a technique. They are an embodiment. They work not because they're special syllables, but because of who you become when you use them. And that's the part most men never realize. You're not just learning a set of words. You're rewiring how you show up in presence, how you hold space, and how you express desire. When you say, tell me, you're stepping out of the noise of performance and into the quiet power of curiosity. You're saying, your world matters to me. It's not a trick, it's an invitation. And an invitation is powerful because it leaves her with a choice. It's different from an interrogation. different from the empty. So what's up? This is an open door, one you've unlocked without pushing her through. When you say, I understand, you are giving her the rare gift of emotional recognition. Not agreement, not problem solving, recognition. And recognition is intoxicating because it tells her she's not invisible. It tells her her story has landed somewhere. That someone has actually caught it and is holding it without trying to reshape it. And when you say you're stripping everything else away until there's nothing in the room but the two of you. No distractions, no conditions, no competition, just clarity. And clarity is one of the most attractive qualities a man can offer. In a world of uncertainty, of half-hearted gestures and shallow interactions, clarity feels like oxygen. The mastery of these words is not in how quickly you learn them, it's in how slowly you live them. The slower you speak them, the more your energy settles into them, the deeper they reach. You can't rush trust, you can't force safety. You can't fake choosing someone, but when you are grounded, when you've done the work on yourself to be comfortable in your own silence, when you've built a life you're proud to let someone into, these words carry the full weight of you behind them. And here's the beautiful part. Once you integrate this, you no longer have to think about it. You stop using the 3 words and start being the man who speaks them naturally. That's when you become magnetic without trying. Women feel it in the way you listen, in the way you hold eye contact, in the way you move in the world. But let me be clear, being magnetic is not about manipulating emotions or collecting admirers. It's about building a space where the right people want to stay. It's about connection that isn't just exciting in the beginning, but rich enough to grow deeper over time. The 3 words are your tools, but you are the craftsman. And just like any craft, mastery comes from mindless repetition, but conscious, intentional practice. Every conversation becomes a canvas. With a colleague, tell me, becomes a gesture of respect. With a friend, I understand, becomes a reminder they're not alone. With a partner, you becomes the center point you return to no matter how chaotic life gets. If you want to know the real secret to attracting all the women you want, it's not about chasing every possibility. It's about becoming so clear in who you are, so steady in your presence, so intentional in your communication that the women who resonate with that energy can't help but be drawn to you. And the ones who don't, they'll naturally fade away, leaving space for the ones who truly fit. Now, I want you to imagine yourself a year from now. You've lived this way long enough that it's no longer new. It's just how you are. You walk into a room and you don't need to scan for attention. It comes to you. You sit across from a woman you're genuinely interested in and you're not calculating your next move. You're simply there, listening, watching the way her eyes shift when she's telling you something real. You say, tell me. And she leans forward. You say, I understand. And her shoulders drop. Her breath deepens. You say, you, and there's a long, charged silence before she smiles in that way that says she knows exactly what you mean. This is the life you can build when you stop thinking of attraction as a game and start thinking of it as a language built on presence, recognition, and choice. And here's the part that might surprise you. The 3 words are not just for her. They're for you too. Because every time you say them with intention, you're reminding yourself of the man you're becoming. The man who listens because he values depth over noise. The man who understands because he's done the work to understand himself. The man who chooses because he knows what he wants. I've seen men transform their relationships, their dating lives, and their confidence simply by committing to living these words. Not performing them, living them. And when you live them, they ripple outward into every part of your life. So, as we close this conversation, I want you to remember something. It's not the words themselves that are magic. It's the way they reveal the magic in you. Every man has that in him, but most never learn how to let it out. You let it out by slowing down, by being intentional, by creating a space where another person feels safe enough to step in and curious enough to stay. And the best part, you don't have to wait for the right woman to start. You can practice this today with your friends, your coworkers, the people you meet in everyday life. Because the more naturally this becomes part of you, the more naturally it will show up when it matters most. You want to attract all the women you want. Start by becoming the man who knows how to hold a woman's attention when he has it. And the man who doesn't panic when he doesn't. That's real power. That's what lasts. So here's my challenge to you. This week in your next conversation, try it. Not as a trick, not as a tactic, but as an honest expression of presence. Look at her and say, tell me, let her speak. Listen, feel what she's saying. And when you mean it, say, I understand. Watch how her face changes. And when the moment is right, not too soon, not force, say, you. And then don't rush. Let the silence do its work. And when you see the way she looks back at you, steady, curious, open, you'll understand something most men never will. Attraction isn't something you create out of thin air. It's something you reveal by being the man who can carry it. If this conversation stirred something in you, if it made you see attraction in a different light, then take this beyond just listening. Live it. Test it. Let it shape you. Because the man who masters presence, recognition, and choice doesn't just get women. He gets the women who matter. And that is everything.